What's up, beautiful people? Graham here at Pluto Studios. This is going to be my official review of Pluribus Season 1. Spoiler alert, going over the whole season. So Pluribus, look, they use a 1 as the I, because themes of individuality. Yeah, that's something. Vince Gilligan at it again. Can he keep the streak alive? Each episode of Pluribus is a lot like a tall glass of milk. Tastes fine. Doesn't leave you wanting another glass of milk, and kind of makes you sleepy. If they made each episode a 22-minute show, like if it was a 30-minute show with commercials, I probably would have marked it a lot higher. But there's so much just dead air. Like, come on, brother. We got places to be. It's 2026. Cut the fat. What are we doing? We got a 20-page script that's going on for an hour. Like, what is the... Vince. If you haven't seen Rick and Morty, the concept is probably interesting enough to keep you watching. A hive mind alien takes over the world. They do explore some interesting concepts, but a lot of it's been done before. And I'm not saying that Rick and Morty was the first show to come up with that idea, but it was done in an entertaining way. Pluribus does, introduce some interesting sort of hive mind mechanics, but it's just so spread out throughout this long, boring episode that you're like, okay, you get one tiny little interesting nugget for an hour's worth of nothing. It sounds a little harsh. I'm being a little harsh. There is great cinematography. 10 out of 10. Great framing. Like, every shot is beautiful. A lot of good uses of like animals and all these different beautiful landscapes throughout the world. Stunt work, amazing. 10 out of 10 stunt work. They got helicopters, you got drones, you got planes taking off and landing, you got hundreds of people acting as a hive mind. It's not CGI. It's just 100 actors walking in a row and doing the same thing. It's like very, very high level stunt coordination and stuff like that. But that does not make it interesting. Over and over, it relies on the audience seeing a hive mind of people all working together in a way that people don't normally act. And you're supposed to be like, whoa. But it's like, okay, we've been watching this for 6-hour-long episodes. We get that that's not normal. You don't have to show it for 10 minutes. Like, come on. Something's got to happen. All right, let's chill out. Let's catch our breath for a little bit. Let's focus on some good stuff. Okay, let's get back to the bad stuff. The show is so far up its own sphincter that it can see out of its own eye holes, if that makes any sense. It's just like, you'll have a 10 to 15 minute long opening of an episode with no words spoken. They're drip feeding tiny bits of information. And it's like, cool, that's great. But can we not do that every single episode for half of the runtime? But no, the answer is no. We have to do that. Another big thing this show suffers from, in my opinion, is like blowing its wad-itis. The stakes at the very beginning of the show are incredibly high. Episode 1, right at the beginning, the world is taken over by an alien virus. Whoa, that's crazy, right? That's good. It gets you hooked in. And then like the 5th episode, there's a wolf going through her trash can, and she's like freaking out, crying and like screaming, like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? And as an audience member, I'm like, that would be the least of my worries. My garbage? You're going through my garbage? I don't give a fuck. I'm the last person on Earth, or one of the last people on Earth, and she's sitting here freaking out about a wolf. She's in her house, and she's getting her golf clubs. She's like, oh my God. We've gone so far down in the stakes that it's just boring. I want to talk about some of the reveals and cliffhangers that they really thought they were cooking with. So she goes into a freezer, and one of the laziest cliffhangers I've ever seen put to screen. she's looking around, and we're on her face, and we see her look somewhere and go, cut to black. Oh my God. Like, the first thing I thought was, oh, there's probably like bodies there. What else would it be? I'm like, that's too easy. What else could it be? I'm like, I don't know. Probably bodies. So then, you know, if you're watching this as it comes out, you wait a week, and then you put on the next episode, like, okay, let's see what it was. And then there's like a 5 minutes of buildup. She runs outside, throws up. It's like, wow. It must not just be bodies. That would be kind of fucking lame. So then we go through 5 minutes of buildup. She goes and gets a camera. Oh, we're doing Blair Witch style. Look, what could it be? What am I seeing? It's bodies. It's humans. Okay. Yeah, I thought so. What else would it be? And again, the stakes, like, we start with the world being taken over, and then wolves in my trash, and then I find bodies in a freezer. It said on episode 2 that 1 billion people died when the world was taken over. Over 1 billion people died. Oh my God. That's crazy. And then we're supposed to care when she finds bodies in a freezer? Like, not even like, it doesn't show hundreds and hundreds of bodies, really. It just shows shelves with like cut up body parts wrapped in plastic. We later find out they've been eating people. Okay, sure. That's fine. It doesn't really have much of an impact at all. I'm sorry. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I just have been desensitized by good television. Fucking hell. This show is more predictable than a milk's expiration date. Because at least you still got to smell the milk to make sure. The only good cliffhanger is at the very last episode, and that's the nuke. Spoiler, they give her a nuke. I want to back up because when they first brought up the nuke in the show, she asked for a hand grenade. They give her one. She's like, whoa, you actually gave me a hand grenade? Would you give me a helicopter, a tank? Would you give me a nuke? And they were like, yeah, we'd give you a nuke, but I don't think you should have a nuke. And she doesn't ask for one. So obviously, first thing I do when I hear that, I turn to my fiance and I say, have you heard of Chekhov's gun? Because the first thing in my head was like, okay, the nuke is going to come back later, obviously. You wouldn't bring that up. And that's the cliffhanger of this season. Like, yeah, okay, what's she going to do with a nuke? Like, the only thing I can think of is a backup plan if they can't reverse the virus is to tell them all to huddle into one area, like an arena or something, and then nuke them. But that's not going to happen. Everybody knows that's not going to happen because this show doesn't have the balls. Bet my shoes. I'll eat them. I just hope the nuke comes back in some way because they're really building it up now. The characters, I want to talk about the characters in this show. They're so infuriatingly unhuman in how they interact with each other, and the conversations between the non-hive mind people would just consistently make me cringe and like blurt out saying, that's not how anyone's ever talked. What are we doing here? People don't talk like that. There's 12 people left on Earth is the conceit we're given. 10 out of 12 of them don't give a fuck that the world's been taken over by a virus. So there's this whole scene. This scene really makes me sad. She's on Air Force One. She gets everybody gathered, and she's like, okay, what are we going to do about this alien virus? And everyone's just like, and she keeps talking, and they're just looking at each other, not saying anything. Like, this bitch. Like, what the fuck are we talking about? So they just sit there for like minutes and minutes while she's talking, and she's like, are you guys going to say anything? And they're like, what's the problem? And it's like, it really sucks you out of the reality of the show when the characters don't act like people. So that kind of bummed me out. The only good character in the show is the dude from Paraguay. This guy rocks. If the show was just about the guy from Paraguay, would have been a great show. I guarantee. Dude, why didn't we just make the show about him? This guy, he's stoic, he's determined, unflinching, he's thoughtful with all of his actions. The best line in the show was delivered by him. I forget which episode, but it's when he finally gets Carol's video and he's like, okay, I've got a mission now. I'm going to go find her. So he takes off, gets his car, blah, blah, blah. And then his mom, who's taken over by the hive mind, comes out and says, son, don't you have any questions? She's all smiley. She says, you know, they're always very polite and happy, these hive mind people. She's like, son. And he's like, don't call me son. You're not my mother. My mother's a bitch. I was like, oh, fuck yeah, dude. And he just drives off. I'm like, hell yeah. That was the best moment in the show by far. And that line really encapsulates the whole show too. Because the hive mind, they're all just like perfectly happy all the time. They still retain the memories and knowledge of the people that they take over. So it's still, in a way, his mom. It's his mom's body, his mom's mind, but just under the influence of the hive mind. He's like, you're not my mother. My mother is a bitch. Which really drives home the theme of like, our own individuality is what makes us special. You know, his mom wasn't the nicest person ever all the time, but that's what made her his mom. And so, I don't know, man. If we'd have just made the show about him, could have been good. I don't know. Carol, on the other hand, not that interesting of a character. She doesn't really have an arc aside from like trying to manage her anger, because that becomes a plot point. She like checks herself a few times and she's like, oh, okay, don't get angry. So that is some kind of character growth, I would say. But she goes back and forth on her morals and goals so many times. She spends an entire season of television just being infuriated that none of the other people who aren't affected by hive mind are on the same page as her. She's the only one who seems to care, the only one who wants to try and reverse it, the only one that doesn't trust them. But now, when this guy from Paraguay finally gets here from 9,000 miles away, she immediately doesn't get along with him, doesn't care that he's on the same side as her, doesn't show any interest in talking with him. She's like, fuck you. And then when he shows interest in trying to learn more about the hive mind, she dips out, says, all right, I'm leaving you. I'm going to go be with the hive mind. Now, it's important to understand at this point in the series, she believes that the hive mind is not trying to infect her anymore. She believes she's completely safe. She later finds out that that's not true, which seems a lot like rehashing of the same drama from earlier episodes. She's like, oh my God, you're trying to turn me? It's like, yeah, the same thing that happened in the beginning, except now we're doing it again. Unsatisfying is the best word to describe the show. All right. So guy from Paraguay shows up. She says, fuck you. The only thing that I've cared about this whole show, I don't care about anymore. Fuck you. I'm gone. Finally realizes that the hive mind is actually bad. And she's like, all right, let's work together with this guy from Paraguay. And that's the big season drop off. She teams up with Mr. Paraguay and she has a nuke. And we're supposed to be like, oh my God, yeah. Fuck you, dude. This is dumb. She acts like a child for the whole show. She got horny and pulled a 180 on all of her morals. And then turns it right back around in the same episode. What are we doing? Vince, come on. This is the guy who wrote Breaking Bad, the best show. And unfortunately for me, while I was like halfway through watching Pluribus, my fiance started watching Breaking Bad again from the beginning. And I caught the end half of episode 1. I was like, holy shit, that's how you make TV. I want to watch the rest of this show. And then I watched episode 2 and I was like, God damn, I'm going to keep watching. And I watched it until I fell asleep, which was a couple episodes later. But I was so blown away that things happen and episodes end in interesting ways that make you want to keep watching. Okay, go back and watch Breaking Bad and just do yourself a favor. Just remind yourself what good TV can be. I think we're just in the days where people are subscribed to this, so they're going to watch it eventually. You don't really have to keep them hooked. Whereas TV, when it was on cable, it has to be to the point. Things got to happen. It's like crack rocks. As Dan Harmon would say, each episode of TV should be like a crack rock that makes you want to keep smoking all the rest of the crack rocks. Pluribus is like a glass of milk. You know, I wouldn't mind a glass of milk a day. And there are things in it that are good for you, but I don't really get home and be like, I could use a tall glass of milk. I kind of have to be like, well, I did pay $13 a month so that I could have a glass of milk 9 times, so I guess I'm going to drink one of my glasses of milk today. And that's what it felt like watching Pluribus. I honestly want someone to make a cut of Pluribus that's 22-minute episodes. I think it would be a fine show to watch. Someone get on that. 22-minute cuts. Somebody, make me some 22-minute cuts. Vince, the spine of a show is the script. I give the writing a 3 out of 10 because it's derivative and uninteresting for most of it. There are only small nuggets of anything in this show. I think I'm going to go back and watch Breaking Bad all the way through. It'll be a nice palate cleanser. I'm not trying to imply that Vince Gilligan hit lightning in a bottle. He wrote good stuff before that. He wrote on X-Files and stuff. He just hasn't written anything good after that so far that I've seen. I could not care less if they make another season. I give this show a 5 out of 10, perfectly neutral. If I had a button that would say delete this from your memory, I wouldn't care if someone pressed that. I don't. Pluribus. Watch it. Don't. Who cares? If you already have Apple TV, put on Pluribus. But don't subscribe for it. Just don't. Vince. Come on, Vince. Well, I will catch you in the next one. Peace.